think so, yeah. Yeah, we're waiting on Keith.
You got all the room tonight.
Yeah. All right. Everybody's on. Okay. All right, so it is 5:30. I'm going to call this meeting to order. I'd ask Brad
Or
Payne.
followed by the pound key to leave no
never mind.
callback number. Press 7 to review your message.
We'll hold a
3
second.
to discard your message and record over. 2 to append to your message and continue recording. 8. Your call has been forwarded to a...
Keith's not answering. So we lost them both. We can't really do. Oh, okay.
I think he realizes he's not on either of them.
Well, we're going to have to wait for both.
Hello, this is Duncan calling in for Christine.
You might have tried, like, yeah. Are you there?
Yep, apologies for that. The YouTube stream was in the background.
Let's grab his phone number and then let's call them both and merge it that way.
Sure, he'll leave us in there.
Is this your direct line over there?
It is, yes.
Okay. Let me try and add Keith back in, and if that fails, I'll call you both back.
Okay, that sounds good.
All right.
So I just turning up. I forgot it was St. Patrick's Day. So I didn't really.
Hello.
Hi, Keith. Can you hold on just for a second?
Sure.
Unless
Are they
we
guys both
and then
here?
answer when we call back.
I'm here. I'm here as well.
Nice job. So now it is 5:34, and I will call this meeting to order. So those that would like to participate, please rise for the invocation that will be given by Mr. Brad Payne. Immediately following the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you for having me. I'll make this short and sweet. I have bowling tonight. Representing the great city of Ottumwa is an amazing opportunity that you guys have. With your position comes great power and great responsibility. Be most excellent to one another and our community. And with clear eyes and a full heart, Ottumwa can't lose. Thank you for having me. Good night and good luck.
You may be seated. Ready? So Sherry, if you would take the roll, please.
Councilmember Dupre,
Here.
Councilmember Kevinus, Councilmember,
Here.
Councilmember Reed,
Here.
Councilmember Galloway,
Here.
Councilmember Hoffman,
Here.
and Mayor Foot.
Here. So first item on the agenda is consent agenda part 1. Do I have a motion to approve consent agenda part 1?
Move to approve.
Second.
Is there any questions or comments about consent agenda part 1?
Yes, I'd like to pull out B7 of the consent agenda and have it for public, it's for public hearing of the proposed property tax levy. I'd like to make that a separate item.
We need to get a motion in a second for that.
Second.
So it sounds like Keith motioned that. Is there a second to move that separately from the consent agenda?
Okay.
Is there no
Keith
second?
was a second.
I thought Keith seconded.
Okay. I had Keith giving the motion.
No,
Keith
second.
Motion.
Dupre.
Dupre
and then Keith.
motioned it? Okay,
Seconded.
thank you.
Confused.
So with that, we'll be looking at consent agenda items 1 through 6. And with that,
We have to vote on removing
on the
it.
removing it?
Yes.
Okay. So Sherry, take the roll on that, please.
Okay, Councilmember Dupre,
Yes.
Councilmember Kevinus,
Yes.
Councilmember Reed,
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway,
No.
Councilmember Hoffman,
Yes.
So now if I'm correct, I can take roll on 1 through 6? Okay. So we're taking roll on consent agenda items 1 through 6. Sherry, take the roll, please.
Councilmember Dupre,
Yes.
Councilmember Kevinus,
Yes.
Councilmember Reed,
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway,
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman,
Yes.
So now looking at item number 7. I need to do another motion to approve.
You'll need a motion to approve
Yeah.
it
Do I
separately.
have a motion to approve consent agenda item number 7?
Move to approve.
Second.
Mr. O'Donnell.
Okay, so in a meeting today with Mayor Foot, Councilmember Dupre, we did want this separate in order to explain, because when you get your hearing notice in the mail, which everybody got within the day or two here, the published total levy rate was $21.155. That was because I had to have the levy rate to the Department of Management so that the county could send out those notices. Since that time, two things have happened. One, we got our property insurance premium rates. They were lower than what my original estimates were. So that took the levy, the proposed levy from 2142 to 2140. And then after the personnel changes and other cuts that the council approved a week ago, the proposed levy is now at $20.85921, which is lower than our current rate of $20.99396. So we wanted to make that announcement because when you get the notice from the county of the property tax, we would have been the only entity going up. But again, I had to submit the maximum levy at the time. when we hold the public hearing, again, we'll reiterate that we're actually, our levy rate right now, as is going down by about 14 cents.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other questions? So with that, Sherry, would you take the roll, please?
Councilmember Dupre,
Yes.
Councilmember Cavanagh,
Yes.
Councilmember Reed,
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway,
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman.
Yes.
So with that, we'll move on to consent agenda part 2. Do I have a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Second.
Sherry, take the roll, please.
Councilmember Dupre,
Yes.
Councilmember Cavanagh,
Yes.
Councilmember Reed,
No.
Councilmember Galloway,
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman.
Yes.
With that, do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Move to approve.
Second.
Sherry, take the roll, please.
Councilmember Dupre,
Yes.
Councilmember Cavanagh,
Yes.
Councilmember Reed,
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway,
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman.
Yes.
Then we'll move to the administrator's report. So Administrator Rath.
Yeah, with the permission of council, I'd like to flip-flop the 2 items that we have here and have the Youth City Council be able to present first. So they're standing in the back there, and I give them an opportunity to exit afterwards, if that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so I'll invite the Youth City Council members up, and if we can queue up, I think they have a video. Perfect.
Come on,
Come
kiddos.
on up.
And if you stand up or when you're talking, come up to the mic, okay? Do you want to introduce yourselves? And then you can go.
Okay. Good afternoon. It's very nice to see you all with well health. My name is Juana Diego Tomas. I am a new member of the Youth City Council. And today, a few of my members are going to talk about accomplishments that we have done or are planning on to accomplish throughout the year. Our goal is to speak for the youth and to have a voice for them, as we have seen some troubles that the youth of Ottumwa have not been able to express themselves. But today, I want to invite my partner and member, Zion, to talk about a few things that we're working on.
And you'll need to tell Travis over here when to move forward.
Hi, I'm Zion Perryman, and today I will be talking about the purpose of one of the projects we've done, which is our short film. Since around August, we've been working on a short film with the goal of raising awareness to the youth's viewpoint in Ottumwa over various matters. We created this film because we wanted to shine a light on the youth's perspective in Ottumwa, positive and negative, so that their voices can be heard. It's hard for some people to speak up about how they feel, especially when they don't have a platform to do so. So we, as the Youth City Council, wanted to give them a chance to share their point of view in hopes of making a change, big or small. Overall, we want the youth of Ottumwa to feel like they have a safe and welcoming community that understands them. I will be passing this over to my fellow council member.
Hi, my name is Eileen Mahotsier. So I want to talk about how this film came to be. To start with, we created a survey that we gave out to the youth at the high school, Evans and Gateway. The survey asked questions to the youth such as, what do you love about Ottumwa? What do you wish you could change about Ottumwa? And what we found is that what the youth loved most about Ottumwa was the community. And what they wish they could change was also the community. So we wanted to show this film to give the adults in the room the youth's perspective of what they wanted Ottumwa to be. Thank you.
Joe Gellman. I'm 15. I'm a sophomore at Ottumwa High School, and I'm a member of the student council there.
My name is Faye Ziegler. I'm 16 years
My name is
old.
Roger Bosu. I'm 16.
I'm Gloria. My name is Ottumwa.
I'm coming.
Community to me, it means family. We're supposed to be united as a team, despite our differences. This is our home. It means having someone to fall back on or to go with. We're supposed to be connected. And someone's so diverse, it's full of many unique people. It's difficult at times, but that's what makes it good. We have to talk to each other and we have to be patient. But most of all, we have to listen to each other because that's true community.
For me, community means a place that you feel home, for people that you feel comfortable with. So I think a community means have a lot of people that you genuinely want to bring to and you feel at home and comfortable with.
Community to me means unity. It means always having a smiling face to greet you and always feeling supported, always feeling that you have someone to talk to and that you have someone to lean on if you ever need help. And the community especially means that a group of people all have the same goal for everyone, especially here in Ottumwa. I feel like we all should have the same goals and ambitions and hopes for the future. Community is a group of people who are, it's not just a town, it's a home and a safe space. In a community, people should be there to support each other, help each other. And I think with the youth here, we definitely have more to go.
For me, Ottumwa is a city defined by its rich history, and especially its architecture with its historic downtown district. A lot of our history is defined in what we built. So some of my favorite buildings here in Ottumwa, I think, really in the city's character. So I think it's a city defined by its history.
It's the place to go to church and school, and it's the only home I've ever known. I have so many memories here, and I'm making so many new ones every single day.
I this place will always be very special to people in each part. And to what she did.
It's really, I don't think there's any big community for the people. I think there's a lot of smaller communities that definitely belong to, but as a whole, Ottumwa does not have one place for all of them. I think that's a problem. The youth is somewhat unconnected. We're divided by stuff like language, race, color, grade level, age, bunch of things that honestly shouldn't matter. Because at the end of the day, when people are growing up in a world that has been ignored,
As much as I'd like to say yes, it's iffy for me. I feel like people just need to understand more than just like have an expectation that people know what they're really wise, all types of different life stories. I feel like if you're honest, I understand that people and put aside that presence or a lot of experiences.
I think they shouldn't underestimate us just because we're younger. Just because we have this less experience doesn't mean that we want to do things. We already are better. I think we should really try to support you.
there's more than this in life. There's a different way to go and there's a good value in this life. In my 4 or 5 or 17 years, I've already been for the choice I made to make that really can, because we did have no reason to know that's happening.
We are today's leaders, not tomorrow's.
I'm going to go through.
It's over.
So it just started over again?
Yeah.
The clicker? Oh.
Hello, my name is Melanie Sividanis, and I am a member of the Youth City Council. And I'm here to talk about the Youth Entrepreneurship Contest. So after many months of hard work, we partnered with Indian Hills and OHS to make the Youth Entrepreneurship Challenge a reality. So at the high school, around 10 students are taking a business dual enroll elective for college credit. And at the end of the class, the students will be participating in our challenge in estimated April, where they'll be competing in elimination rounds by presenting 5-minute business pitches. And the first place winner will bring their business concept to life as a pop-up. Oh. How do I fix it? That's it. Oh, that's it? Oh.
To conclude our presentation, I would like to reinvestigate our message. The Youth City Council's purpose is to amplify the voices of the youth and to serve as a platform for them. The projects we do, such as the entrepreneurship contest or our short film, the main purpose of them is to involve the youth and to let their voices be heard. As our motto goes, we are the leaders of today, not tomorrow. Thank you.
So I would just like, myself and then Colby Mercer over there, we work with the youth, and we have all learned a lot from each other, learned how to work just in many different phases. But when we see things like this, it really makes me a proud person to be on that council with you or to oversee all the work that you're doing and see it all come together. I am so proud of you. I am so proud of the work you're doing and the message that you're bringing. And so it is a complete and utter joy to work with you and a privilege. So thank you for allowing me that privilege.
All right. Thank you. All right. And then I'd like to call up Tim Richmond, who's going to provide an update on the Emergency Medical Services Advisory Council.
There's a lot of heavy sighs in the hallway right now, isn't there? They did a great job. Okay, let's see if I get this right. All right. I have about 11 slides here, I think, if I count right. Make this somewhat brief. I just want to update you on the Emergency Medical Services Advisory Council. We've been meeting since July of 2025. And I'll get it right. Here is who is on our council and the different sectors of the community that they represent, from government to medical leadership, system partner agencies, EMS service directors, and our community representation. We meet once a month. And in August, we developed our mission statement, which you see there in red, is to develop an enduring EMS system that reduces suffering, disability, and death caused by injury and illness, while ensuring access, quality, and affordable out-of-hospital EMS for all residents of Wapello County. So our initial goal was to set forth a path centered on identifying gaps, reviewing options, and developing a sustainable EMS system. A little bit about our timeline. So starting in July, we convened the council. August, we formulated bylaws and adopted that mission statement. In September, seated our officers, and at that time was working on a data subcommittee, which is actually was started before the advisory council was appointed. It was a work being done by our EMS association. And then October, we selected some projects. I'll talk a little bit more about how we did that here in a minute. November, we defined our work streams and formed 14 different work streams with committees attached to each of those. December, we identified some issues early. And then in January, findings began to shape some of the options that we're looking at. So our first steps was assessment. We did that with several different tools. The EMS system standards, which is a state product from the Iowa Department of Public Health, that's something that we've done as an EMS association for quite some time. And it has changed over the years, and it looks at different sectors of healthcare. It's a pretty in-depth metric, and we are judged on several different components of our EMS system. And we're tasked with really just picking something, a couple of items to work on every year and report to the state. And it's nothing that's punitive at the state level. They just want to get a snapshot of what's going on statewide. And it's been an interesting conversation in our quarterly EMS meetings that we have with the state about that, because a lot has changed in healthcare. A lot is changing with those metrics and with expectations and just resources in general. So it's the benchmark that we've had to use for several years. Next, we did a SWOT analysis early on as a council, just to look at our strengths, our weaknesses, our opportunities, and our threats. And that stakeholder reporting is the data committee I talked about, where we wanted to have a public report that showed some data about our local EMS system and just educate the public on what those pieces of EMS is, because a lot of folks don't really know. And then fourth, we did an EMS provider survey where we surveyed the boots on the ground. So all of our providers in all the different services throughout the county. And we received 43 responses from that just to get their viewpoint. And it's interesting when you compare the insights from the provider survey with the insights from the SWOT analysis, which are the council members, they were pretty much in alignment, which is a pretty good validation. So the resulting actions, we take that data and that assessment, and we identify priority gaps identified. We identify those work streams, and that's where we broke into different committees. We identified 14 different work streams, which I'll have a slide on here in a minute. And that's where we'll put our focus on and come up with some options that will eventually end up in our recommendation. Here's our committee structure. There's 4 different topic areas: staffing, communications, training, response, and transportation. Under staffing, we're looking at different ideas like community response teams. There's 3 different counties in Iowa that have the United First Aid Program. They're looking at maybe possibly expanding that. We're looking at industrial response teams because there's some interface with industrial response teams throughout the county. And then our EMS BLS teams and countywide capabilities. So just having a better way to utilize the talent that we already have. We're somewhat restricted on boundaries and communication systems. So that leads into communications. We're investigating different options under emergency medical dispatch that could turf different types of calls to different resources. Response team activation. There's technology available that could geofence around a call and know when there's a responder close if we had a true countywide system where a provider could work anywhere in the county versus just their home area. And then community education products. People can utilize healthcare if they better know how to access it and what's available. We talked about print products like we did during COVID, but we all agree that that's too hard to keep updated and it changes too often, especially now. And so the thought on the council is that we already have such a product with the Waplo Life app. We just need to continue to make it robust and get it known by all. Third is training. So looking at our initial training options, which is the pipeline into the profession of providing emergency medical care. We've tried some different things with the EMS youth internship for a couple of summers. Great program, but hard to sustain when you don't have sustainable funding. And we just had to figure out different ways to break down those barriers to get people in. And we do have some options still. There's a lot of great options through Indian Hills Community College. Lori told me just over the weekend that they were able to find WTED and different other methods of funding to get people pretty much paid for if they're willing to do the program. Looking at continuing education options, because once we get them into the EMS system, we want to keep them there. So we want to make that not burdensome at all, and then have a repeatable, predictable plan so that people can work all the education needs into their life. 4, response and transportation, which is where a lot of our angst happens. Home care options, we've seen those shrivel up over the years. And, a lot of our seniors would like to stay at home, and sometimes maybe too long because they can't afford other options. And so I think we're seeing a unique time in history where we have a rapidly aging population and not enough resources to care for those folks. And so we need to figure out ways to take care of them. And there's different ideas on the national platform that we need to look at. One of those is community paramedicine, also called mobile integrated health. They're also talking about treatment in place, which is something that's being talked about in Congress. We'll see if the money flows. That's the next thing. But I do believe that that is one of the key answers to some of our issues is community paramedicine. High volume locations and alternative options. Generally, these are care facilities. You've had conversations about lift assist. That's a struggle in every community. I believe you're trying some different things with that. There's probably other ideas we need to try. I know Bill's done a lot of work on that in his committee, but there has to be some more options because as that population becomes aged, there's going to become more need. And then public transit, we've had conversations. We have a committee working with 1015 Transit to see what other options we can offer because that, the default call is the ambulance when they don't have any other option. So the themes that emerge from all that work are here. So one, workforce strain, staffing inadequacy and coverage pressure. Our people are extremely busy, working a lot of overtime to cover shifts because there's not enough providers to be had. And so we have issues like burnout and fatigue that really affect our sustainability and safety, to be quite honest. Two, readiness depends on equipment and training. One of the things we hear often is how fast the equipment wears out. Ambulances are very expensive and they run up and down the road a lot and they wear out very quickly. And so that is a problem. And one of the things that come from the provider survey was they want to see more joint training and closing some of those interoperability gaps. And I think that's low-hanging fruit there. Three, demand extends beyond the ambulance transport. So we talk a lot about the ambulance, but there's a lot more to the EMS system than just the ambulance. It's those things I mentioned, like the lift assist, the high volume locations, home care needs, transit options, and just alternative care methods. Not every 911 call necessarily needs a paramedic, but they do need care of some sort. Four, system design and coordination. So looking at EMD options, what can we do at the call taking? We've talked about different ideas about maybe having a 311 option where they know they don't need an ambulance, but they need something. And if we have those somethings available as other options, then maybe we have a pathway for that. And that relieves pressure off 911 and yet still provides the service that's needed. And then once we get some of these things identified, maybe in place, and of course, robust public education to educate our public on what those options are. We're not convinced that the public actually knows all of the options they currently have today. And so that's something I think we can work on. Sorry, this is hard to read, but this is a graphic that kind of tries to pull all of those concepts together in a graphic. And you'll hear the state and the feds talk about the hub and spoke model a lot when it comes to healthcare and especially rural healthcare. That's their idea. That's where the state is moving us toward, is hub and spoke with basically every public service, to be quite honest with you, not just EMS. You've seen it with behavioral health. You're seeing it with public health. You'll see it with hospitals and EMS. It's just we have some differences of opinion on this. And so I think the state thinks that the hubs need to be Iowa City and Des Moines. Well, we know that we need something a lot closer to home than that. And so I know that there's some interest here in the healthcare community to be a hub here. And I think there's very open minds with that. But one thing I wanted to point out with this graphic is you have all these ideas around that are great, that will help with the system, that help bring value. But if any one of those fail, it always falls back to the default, which is the 911 transport ambulance. And that's where we're feeling our pressure. So any of these other ideas or programs or services we can build up or build will relieve pressure off that 911 system and just make it act like a more robust, cohesive system overall. And so that's what we're looking at as a council, is the whole big picture, all the different options. What does this system need to look like? We're not focusing on just an ambulance. Yes, that's where we feel the pressure and the pain right now, but there's many more ways to attack this problem. So what have we accomplished so far? Well, we've built the table. So we've established our council with a cross-sector representation. We've set our governance. So we have bylaws, approved our mission, have our leadership. We've created a process. We've used the standards, the data work, the SWOT analysis, the concept maps, and the surveys. We've organized the work into major issues that led to work streams and committees. And then we're starting to validate through some of those surveys. And then we're starting right now to work on what the solution design looks like. And so we have a draft, kind of a master playbook, if you will, just what would an ideal system look like. But the reason this is going to take a little bit of time yet is for all those committees to vet all their ideas and come back with what's really attainable, what can we really do to give you viable options once we finally get to a recommendation to say, this is what we think a system should look like. Now let's talk about how we can actually build it, or how much of it can we build. And so that's what's next. Turn those work streams into options, keep validating it with data. We're going to repeat the stakeholder report, which is just public data about our EMS system, and then prepare the policy conversation for you all. That's about a 10,000 foot view. I didn't want to get too deep in the weeds because that comes later, but just wanted to know that we are working. This is what we're doing, how we're doing it, and hopefully have some good news in the months ahead. Any questions?
I have a few. So just kind of going through. So the gaps on one of the pages you talked about gaps identified, are those those early themes that you talked about? So it was.
Can you go back to that one? The theme slide. I think it's
page 8.
Get my glasses on, Karen.
Yeah, page 8.
8, okay.
Or slide 8, I think.
Yep.
Are those the early gaps you were talking about?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, precisely.
Also, I look at and maybe you guys don't get, or maybe there's not a lot of calls for this, but when I look at who's represented, mental health seems to not be on there. Is that?
So mental health is, we have a list of what we call ad hoc members that we would fold in. There's actually several of those that we would fold into those conversations when that comes up. So we kind of pull some of those other people in when that specific topic comes in, mental health being one of them.
Awesome. Good. Because I think that's probably one that you probably get. I think officers get calls. I don't know about the ambulance, but and then
yes.
You talked about 2 different surveys. I love surveys. I love results. Is that something that you can share out to us?
So yes, I'm glad you mentioned that. Thank you. So on my website, I have a dedicated page and I continue to put content on there. So wapelloready.org/EMS.
Okay, say it again for me.
wapelloready.org.
Okay.
That's the emergency management page, /EMS.
Okay.
Are all these documents that I reference.
Okay.
Right now, I'm working on getting meeting minutes and stuff like that. The meeting minutes and agendas are also on the board of supervisors page. But all those documents are on there. The SWOT analysis, I did a document there that pairs the SWOT analysis results with the system standards.
Okay.
The provider survey summary is on there. What else did I talk about?
So the things that you're referencing in here, we can find on that.
Yep.
So the public could also find them too.
Yep.
So wapelloready.org/EMS.
Yep.
And then one last thing. So so on the last slide there, you have a quote, "The most useful role for elected officials at this stage is to stay aligned with the process." That little, the last slide. Oh, one more. There you go. So I have been reached out to by others in our community because EMS has been a big topic, obviously, for the last probably, honestly, since I've been on council, so 5 years. And then one of the things is asking about the Ottumwa running an ambulance, especially in the last year. So when we talk about looking at all the options, is that part of one of the hubs? And I know that Chief has been working to set up a presentation for us. Have you all seen that presentation? And I think I, as a council member, would like to see that presentation to see how it, does it work into the hub that you're talking about, or the spokes, I guess. So
We have heard nothing about that.
okay.
So we need to. You have a representative on the council.
Okay.
I think we have some issues there we need to resolve. And I'll let Chief talk about it tonight if he wants to, but not particularly keen on the email trails lately around a FOIA request regarding the provider survey.
Okay.
Anonymity was promised to those survey takers.
Okay.
And I don't understand the reason for wanting to see the full data and all the candid responses, because it's still a pretty small survey. You can figure out who said what. It was offered to provide each department their responses if they want to see those. That's not apparently what was being asked for. They want to see the full set. So it boils down to 2 things. You either want to see somebody else's answers, or you don't trust my process in providing the results. And so if we don't have trust, we have issues.
Okay.
And we do
I
have
would
issues.
agree with that.
And
I would agree.
I think it needs to be taken care of, because we're not going to move forward We're not going to play these games. I've been a person in favor of Ottumwa running a backup BLS rig, but I've been accused of blocking the way. No, I haven't seen any proposals. I didn't see the proposal for the pilot project. I didn't see the proposal that led to the math at the last presentation I was at. I haven't seen any proposals at all with any real data, with any real numbers to gain any real understanding. So to answer your question.
Can Chief Mayor?
So I would like to also invite our deputy chief up, because our deputy chief does sit on that council committee. So originally, in reference to the survey information, my deputy chief did request that information as part of a committee member. So he has not actually seen the information even being on the committee. So Mr. Richmond has ended up being the sole individual that gets to see all that information. I think as this process has started, I would agree that a lot of this information has not been given. And so there's some questions that I've had in relation to some of the data, because I think data helps provide an overall view of the true system. So with this committee being a appointed committee by the county commissioners and being an advisory committee by the county commissioners, we originally just asked for the information and we were told no. So that only thing that then brings into question is, why are we being told no for information that is on record, which makes me believe that there could be some questions. So we received an email then directly from the county commissioners that said, no, we will not provide that information unless you FOIA us. So again, that makes me question the intent of the process. So I'll let my deputy chief speak in relation to some of that information.
Well, before we do that, I'd like to place a point of order here. So just to be clear, the City Council of Ottumwa is not the governing body of this organization. This is a partnership between other cities and within Wapello County. And so if there's a discrepancies or disagreement within the organization, I guess I would advise that the organization gets together and works this thing through as the organization that they're supposed to be. City Council can't make a decision on any of this. So I just want to make sure that our discussion is helpful as to what we're trying to do. And I'm starting to feel like maybe it isn't.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to point out too that Tim was nice enough to come down here and give a presentation, and this is going in a way it shouldn't go.
Correct.
He came to get in a presentation, not to get into a match here. So Tim, thank you for your presentation. I appreciate you coming down. I appreciate everybody's concern, but Mayor, I think we should stop it there.
I would agree. So Administrator Rath, do you have anything more?
Yeah, just some quick updates on some legislation that is at the municipal level or concerning a municipality. Some of the League of Iowa Cities priority legislation that is moving through. Sidewalk liability, Senate File 2146, House File 2359. Sidewalk liability priority bill is funnel proof. It's passed both Senate and it's linked in the House. And League is continuing to work to ensure the bill clears the House and sent to the governor's desk. So that is something, just as a reminder, where currently the municipality could have liability for issues with sidewalks, accidents that happen on sidewalks that are adjacent to any property. And typically those would be the responsibility of the property owner to maintain. This would shift that liability back to the property owners. So that's something that'd be favorable for municipalities. Digital public notices, Senate Study Bill 3183. It's placed in the Appropriations Committee, which means that it's funnel proof. It would require public entities, I think we talked about this just a little bit last time, where we could place notices for a flat $5 fee per posting. And then it's calculated and deposited into a new public notice administration fund. It's capped at $350,000 to fund the portal's administration. Let's see. Property tax bills are still going through and still alive. Property tax reform bills, I should say. And then one legislation signed by the governor, Senate File 579. It's a local civil rights commission and agency procedures reform. And that one is set to limit the authority of local governments to enact civil rights ordinances that are broader or differ from state law, removes the requirement for certain cities to maintain a civil rights agency, instead making it optional. Several new subsections would establish processes for transferring complaints to the Iowa Office of Civil Rights, set commissioner term lengths, require notification to complainants of their right to file with the state, and provide transition provisions for pending complaints. And that was signed by the governor on March 10th with the effective date of March 10th. So those are just some of the current legislation that is going through. And I think this is the week for second funnel. So, and that's all I have for tonight.
All right. Thank you, Administrator. So we're going to move on to the rest of our agenda. We have no public hearings. However, if you are here in the audience and you would like to speak on something on the agenda, I would invite you to fill out one of these forms. They're in the basket on that front banister. There should also be copies of our agenda there as well. That way I'll know exactly where to put you on the agenda. So with that, we'll move into ordinances.
Okay, ordinance number 3256, 2026, amending section 38115 of the Code of Ordinance of the City of Ottumwa, Wapello County, Iowa, to add recycling processing as a conditional use in the C2 zoning districts. Recommendation pass the second consideration of ordinance 3256, 2026.
Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Jake.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Council. So this is the second reading of ordinance that amends section 38115 of the Code of Ordinances to allow recycling processing as a conditional use within a C2 zoning district. Recycling process is not currently identified as a permitted or conditional use in a C2 district. This ordinance establishes a clear regulatory path for considerations of such uses in a C2 district by condition.
Is there any questions or comments?
So has anything changed since last time? Has there been any contact from?
I had no contact from the public. I haven't heard anything really, no change.
I haven't heard anything negative either.
I haven't either.
Have we received any emails or letters? Okay. Sherry, if you'd take the roll, please.
Councilmember Dupre?
Yes.
Councilmember Cavanis?
Yes.
Councilmember Reed?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes.
Thank you, Council.
Thank you.
Ordinance number 3257, 2026, amending the Code of Ordinances by amending Chapter 2, Article 4, Division 1, to provide the appointment and termination of department heads shall be subject to the approval of the City Council. Recommendation pass the first consideration of Ordinance 3257, 2026.
Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. So I'll be presenting this one tonight. This ordinance really has three sections to it. Section 1 is repeal and replace section 2-78B4 as follows. So it would say coordinate and supervise the official conduct and affairs of all officers and department heads of the city, and shall annually evaluate the performance of all officers and department heads with the exception of the city clerk. The city clerk shall be supervised and evaluated by the city council. Section 2 talks about repeal and replace section 2-80B as follows. City administrator shall appoint such department heads as a city administrator deems necessary for the effective and efficient operation of the city. Any such appointment shall be subject to the approval of the city council, except as provided by state law. And then section 3 says to repeal and replace section 2 dash, I think that's 8.2, as follows. The city administrator may remove or suspend a department head, but any such removal shall be subject to the approval of the city council, except as provided by state law. A public hearing may be requested by the department head as provided by state law. So the above referenced sections have been reviewed by legal and presented to HR to confirm they conform to current personnel policies. These changes were recommended by City Council for staff to draft and adopt. And then I would speak further. The intent of this is to really reestablish a level of accountability and really a check or a balance for the hiring and termination of our department heads and directors. Currently, when a department head determines to hire or terminate, then they move their recommendation and then that gets approved by the administrator. The way it is currently, the administrator then, when hiring or terminating a director or department head, they go ahead and move forward with that per their own recommendation and then per their own approval. With, of course, the opportunity for appeal to the council in the event of termination. So what this would do is it would put that check or balance for department heads and directors, just putting in that same level of accountability when we're hiring, whether it be directors or department heads, and that would go for termination as well. So with that, I would open it up for questions or comments.
I have some. Okay, so I am struggling with this a little bit. So with this ordinance, I'm struggling with inserting us into hiring and firing, just because it is a structural change. Again, I ask, what specific failure are we addressing? Because if we are concerned with how our management, the hiring and or management of staff is being handled, then we as a council are failing to hold our administrator accountable. That means that we're not, by rewriting this, we are not going to fix the issues that we, that I think are bringing this forward. So I guess that's what I'm gonna just, again, ask, like, what specific failure are we addressing with this?
Again, my comment would be that this is a check and balance to put in place so that the council then has the accountability over the administrator through the hiring and termination of department heads and directors. Right now, in that, it's just himself, and that's not just to oversee the administrator, but it also is to be there as a tool for the administrator to use as well.
Mayor, if I may, I also see it as a make sure I'm talking, as a partnership as well. The way it goes now is the city administrator does the hiring and the firing, so there's no question of his judgment. I mean, that's not what this is about. But there are some things like the mayor said, but also if he decides to terminate somebody or if he decides to coach somebody and there's legal reasons, we got him out here. Now it's a partnership where he's not alone in these decisions. So I don't want to say it's a layer of protection for anyone. It's a partnership, and we are elected, by the city. Some may like us, some may not, but we're still elected, and I still think that the say should be for the citizens. I mean, we should have some say in that, not to strip what the city administrator does, and not to say that he's not doing his job. That's not what anybody up here is saying. So that's my 2 cents, Mayor.
Yeah.
If I may, since we're talking about me here, sure. I would say it actually kind of goes counter to providing a tool. It's taking a tool away. If there's no threat of the end result, then let's say, what good is discipline without any teeth behind it? There's nothing to say that an employee is going to listen to discipline. That's like saying that a step parent comes in and disciplines their stepchild, but then the stepchild goes and to mom or dad, and it gets overturned. it's taking that ability away to properly manage, efficiently and effectively manage. One of the things that I'm evaluated on is the efficiency of city government. And if there isn't that ability to do that, the tools that are there, if there is anything, let's say that there is a need to separate employment and a severance package is necessary, council has to approve that financial package. So that's there as a tool. If it's a proper disciplinary action, then that's bringing that all out into the public, because any decision of council needs to be a public decision. The employee could request to go into a closed session to have that conversation, but they're not required to. And the council can't dictate that be in closed session if the employee is not wanting that to be. So that brings that into the public. It's actually hindering, in my opinion. We'll operate under whatever system is in place. I'm just saying, I think it would have the opposite effect of what might be intended. I would actually say reverse it. What I'm authorizing with director or department head appointments is the process. I'm not interviewing in on the interviews of the employees. I haven't overridden anybody on that. I would say take that language out of saying that I'm approving that, because I don't need to approve their hires. I trust the job that they're doing. And if there was a need to discipline somebody or terminate, I would trust that they're doing so in a proper way. If they're not, then that would be a conversation I would have with them.
And I don't think the language in here talks about discipline at all. It just talks about hiring and termination. So as the discipline process that you go through, the council isn't part of that process. It's just simply the end result of that. And then as them being part of that process, they can also be privy to whatever discipline led to termination or whatever recommendation led to hiring. So again, it just brings in that check, that balance. Like Councilman Hoffman was saying, it brings in the elected people or the elected officials that are put there by the people of Ottumwa to be part of that process, as they are the ones invested in how this city is run.
Yeah, I'm not trying to be argumentative. I'm just going to say this one last thing. What I'm referring to is progressive discipline. If somebody gets a written warning and they don't like it, or suspension, they don't like it, then they maybe just don't listen to whatever directions given, knowing that there isn't going to be a termination because they have a majority of council on board with their work. They're never going to be terminated.
One of the problems with all of this is that there's things that the administrator knows that we don't know and probably would never know because it's some sort of dirty laundry or whatever that doesn't get aired. And so we're kind of looking at it without full knowledge many times, and yet the administrator knows the details better, and we have to trust him with that. I agree with that. We want to trust our administrator.
That's a really good point. We're not part of the day-to-day operations.
But we do have constituents that come to us with concerns. And I look at this as more of a standard check and balance, like we have in any form of government. There's always a check and a balance. And that the way I read this was it was just a final balance of we as the city council understand what the administrator's done, and we either agree or disagree, but it gives us a chance to represent the people that elected us and their concerns.
Yeah, and that is ultimately my contract. If you're not agreeing with the job I'm doing, you sever the contract.
Not senior contract.
I think that
That's the check and balance.
99.9% of the time, we would absolutely agree with our administrator. There wouldn't be a difference. And I would hope that then if a decision was made, if the council was also on board, then it would be a little bit more confident for the people to agree, okay, it has been thought about and looked over, and there's not just.
I come from the corporate world. We had what we called an ombudsman. So if there was an issue, we could go to the ombudsman as the final. I guess we would be kind of like the ombudsman for the city, is my view on this. That if there was a concern, there was one last avenue before this became a real issue or a court case or, a wrongful dismissal, whatever. um, you know,
That's essentially in place now.
okay.
What did
Well,
you say? I'm sorry. I didn't hear you.
Well, I said that's essentially in place now. Any employee could come to a council member and express a concern with my performance, and city council could evaluate that.
I think we kind of went off track again. It's not about your performance at all. It's not about that. It's just about elected officials having a say in that. I mean, and I know you feel attacked, and I don't want you to feel attacked. That's not what this is about. I mean, to be transparent with everybody, even when I ran, I always thought council should have a final say in this. But by saying council should have a final say, I'm not saying anybody's not doing their job, but you know what? I have 25,579 people, bosses watching me, or that I have to consult with. So it's not his performance. I don't want anybody like that, but it's kind of like an official open door policy. However, this is where I don't want anybody to touch this wrong, but I want the process followed. Like, if you're a staff member, don't come because you're mad. I mean, don't come to a councilman, give him a chance to take care of, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, we can't just, it's not permission to skip.
So
Right.
I'm gonna, and Administrator Rath knows I said this, or I'm going to say this. I've had many conversations with Administrator Rath about this. But when you look at this and you look at I-4, I very much think that we are identifying that there are concerns with the administrator, and we are creating policies instead of addressing the issue that may be directing these policies. And we as a council are tasked and charged with the administrator right under us. And so that is what my concern is with these policies. I feel like I believe when I read these and how they are directed, that we are becoming micromanagers when we are here to not oversee the day-to-day management. Our role is governance and the fiduciary aspect of this too. And so there's also the part of employees can appeal a decision. So if the administrator were to let someone go, they can appeal that decision. And then that's where we come in play. So again, I hope we are not installing or putting in policies to address a bigger issue.
And I would just remind you that this isn't a new policy. This is a return to a policy that was in place previously.
Right. And I believe it's a policy for further issues too. But again, it keeps getting brought up. It has nothing to do with his performance. And I don't want it to sound like that.
Sure.
So I don't want it twisted. It's not about his performance. This was in effect for how many years? I mean, this was original.
Until 22.
Yeah, and I'm not feeling attacked. My concern is, like I said, I feel it's taking away one of the tools to help with creating efficiency. The reason why this went away from the way it was before was because city council did not want to have to deal with the terminations at this level in the public. And if you are the hiring authority, then you're also the terminating authority. And that's why that change was made back in 2022. After there was a separation it wasn't even a termination, it was a joint separation agreement. And so that was the effect of it at that time. If you want to revert back to it, I don't have an issue. I'm just saying there are consequences with that, and efficiency may be one of those. So I just don't want to be held to a standard later that I have no control or little control over.
No, I do understand that. I mean, I understand that, but that you don't want it to affect your eval to a standard you can't control. And I do understand that, but from my point of view, I mean, you guys elected me, the buck stops with me. So, I mean, the budget, everything, I mean, I would hope that, that we could all work together on it. Again, it's not an attack on anybody. So, but we do have, beyond, financial responsibility and other things, we have a lot bigger role, and we owe citizens a lot more than just 2 or 3 things. I mean, everything that happens in this city, right or wrong, and let's just say wrong, that buck stops with us 5.
But it stops with us without change, like a policy change either. I just want to make sure that we are not to the point where we are micromanaging our staff that we have put in place to do their jobs. And if we are developing policies because we have concerns with how things are done or the way things are, I understand the fact of checks and balances, but there is checks and balances in place too. But if we are developing policies, I just want to make sure we're not doing that. That if we have concerns with the staff that we are, or how things are being run, not just staff, that we are addressing them and we are not making policies when the issue is bigger, because then it becomes Band-Aids and then we're not truly addressing the issues. And that's what the people deserve, is us to truly address issues and not develop policies to put a Band-Aid over things.
But if we're reverting back to what it was back in 2022, were we micromanaging then?
No, we got rid of that policy because we believed, the council at that time believed that we were micromanaging. And at that time too, it was a mess. There were people coming to us because they didn't know the chain of command. And I think that's what we're going to go back to, a break in the chain of command too. And who do they go to? Who actually has the authority, which would be us if we're the final say on hiring and firing.
Again, though, the buck stops with us. If they come to us and haven't been to him, then we need to educate them on the chain of command, and we need to educate them on the process, and we need to not skip the city administrator. I mean, we still need to involve him in the process. This has gone so south here that it's not about his performance. It's not about anything else. This is about a policy where the elected officials have say in this, and we're reverting to an ordinance. I mean, we're making it sound like it's going to be chaos, and it's not. I mean, I don't know. It's not going to be chaos. We're just taking responsibility as elected officials. And I believe in the policy. So transparently, I'm going to shut up now, but I support it.
Any other questions or comments? Sherry, take the roll, please.
Councilmember Dupre,
Yes.
Councilmember Cavaness,
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway, Councilmember Reed,
No.
Councilmember Galloway,
No.
Councilmember Hoffman,
Yes.
Okay, we'll move to departmental board or commission recommendations and reports.
consideration for application to the Iowa Department of Homeland Security and Emergency Management, HSGP 2026 grant application. Recommendation: approve the grant submission and authorize the mayor and chief of police to sign the application and contract upon receipt of the HSGP 2026 grant.
Is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Chief Harrington.
Thank you, Council. Mayor, the police department is requesting authorization to submit an application for the purchase of a Lenco Bearcat armored rescue and response vehicle through the Iowa Department of Homeland Security and Emergency Management Grant Program. It would be for the amount of $315,000. The police department would then put $25,000 towards that purchase. That would come from our forfeiture funds, which is healthy. Just a quick reminder is that those funds can only be used for the purchase of equipment to further our mission and goals as a police force. The vehicle would provide at least level 3A or higher ballistic protection for up to 10 officers during critical incidents. As you well know, the Southeast Iowa Interagency Drug Task Force serves 5 counties in our area. That vehicle would also be utilized in those with those organizations and communities as a need may arise. The vehicle would also be used for civilian rescue during disasters or events such as floods or high wind events. where regular patrol vehicles could not safely go into. And we believe it would greatly enhance public safety and our ability to respond to critical incidents and rescue operations in the city of Ottumwa and those other communities as well.
Any questions or comments?
So I like the idea that it would be shared a little bit. It wouldn't just be for you guys, but it'd be able to be used in some other ways you indicated there.
Absolutely.
And I just want you to clarify one more time, because it's all over Facebook about how we are in a budget crisis and this is on our agenda. So where are these funds coming from?
Yeah, I believe that's just folks commenting on social media that don't know the facts. So this is a grant through Homeland Security. So $315,000. Yes, these vehicles are not cheap, but it is a very specialized vehicle. Those would be coming through a grant. No funds, no taxpayer dollars. The forfeiture fund that I talked about, those are funds that we procure from individuals that are committing violent and drug trafficking crimes in our community. So $25,000 would come from the forfeiture funds, not taxpayers.
Thank you for that clarity.
And, it's discouraging that people would think that I would actually come in the deficit and request $315,000 in tax funds. So on another note, this was part of the CIP program, and these funds would allow us to remove that from bonding and future purchase possibilities as well.
Perfect. Thank you.
So it would help the budget.
Absolutely. If we get it, we get it.
When we get it.
I had to look all this up because I didn't know what NIJ level 3A even meant.
Sure.
So would you clarify for us that we're not ammo people?
You bet. You bet. Everything from the vest I'm wearing to the armor that would be on this Bearcat, the NIJ puts those different levels on it. You could have level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4. What that culminates to is that level of armor will defeat up to a certain caliber of ammunition. I did hear on Facebook that this was a tank. This sits on a Ford 550 or 5500 chassis. I don't think Ford makes tanks. So it is it will not defeat, missiles or grenades or anything like that. That's not what we're utilizing it for, but it will defeat high-powered rifles.
Very good. That's what I want you to get to.
Sounds good.
Thank you for the acquisition of a grant.
You bet. You bet.
If no other questions, Sherry, would you take the roll, please?
Councilmember Dupre,
Yes.
Councilmember Cavaness,
Yes.
Councilmember Reed,
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway,
Yes.
Councilmember Huffman.
Yes.
Thank you.
2026 RFP number 1 from McKinley Avenue Sewer Separation Project. Recommendation award contract for 2026 RFP 1 for the McKinley Avenue Sewer Separation Project to DC Concrete and Construction of Dowds, Iowa in the amount of $16,648 and authorize the mayor to sign the contract.
Public Works Director Bergmeyer.
All right, thank you, Mayor.
Yeah.
So this is a ditch on McKinley Avenue, and it empties into a hole cut in the side of a sanitary manhole. So we're gonna repair that manhole and plug the hole in it and add an intake upstream of it, and then outlet it into a creek, so it'll not be going to the sanitary sewer anymore.
Any questions or comments?
I was struck by how big the difference is in the bids that you got. I was surprised at that.
Some people look at the same thing differently. This one, the difference was in clearing and grubbing. So I think they expected to have to clear, the higher bid expected to have to clear a lot more of the outlet ditch than what the other bidder wanted to, or they had a cheaper way of disposing of the material that they cleared. So, yeah.
I just wanted to make sure that the lower bid was considering all the work then that does need to be done.
He does a lot of this type of work for the city. So I think he's pretty experienced and knows what he's getting into.
Good.
Any other questions? Sherry, take the roll, please.
Councilmember Dupre,
Yes.
Councilmember Cavaness,
Yes.
Councilmember Reed,
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway,
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman,
Yes.
RFP number 2 for Wildwood Sewer Separation Project. Recommendation award contract for the 2026 RFP number 2 to DC Concrete and Construction of Dowds, Iowa, in the amount of $16,795, and authorize the mayor to sign the contract.
Mr. Bergmeyer.
All right. Thank you, Mayor. So this is another small little sewer separation project. We found an intake on Wildwood Drive that emptied into the sanitary sewer as well. And there is a nearby storm sewer we can connect it to. So this project is going to take that existing intake and connect it to a storm sewer instead of a sanitary sewer. We're trying to get some of these little small stray intakes off the sanitary system with the hope of maybe eventually eliminating Richmond as a CSO. That's the one that empties into Greater Ottumwa Park. So we spent a lot of time this summer trying to track these little stray intakes down.
Sure. Any questions or comments? Sherry, take the roll, please.
Councilmember Dupre,
Yes.
Councilmember Cavanagh,
Yes.
Councilmember Reed,
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway,
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman.
Yes.
Number 4, sewer rate study. Recommendation, receive the report on the sewer rate study performed by Vanessa Rankin, Inc.
Is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Second.
And just for clarification, we're just receiving the report tonight, correct? There's no action?
Yeah, correct. So I'm gonna go over that.
Yeah.
Okay, so Mr. Bergmeyer.
All right, thank you, Mayor. So on the September 16th meeting of last year, the City Council approved a sewer rate study. The intent of this study was to identify if alterations were needed to the rate structure to more fairly distribute the cost of operating and maintaining the sewer system. This study, one of the main findings was that the single-family homes are shouldering a disproportionate share of the burden for capital expenses versus multifamily, hotel, and general commercial and industrial users. We found that 58% of usage was from single-family homes and 65% of impervious area, which correlates to the storm sewer system. But single-family homes are paying 92% of all the base rates. This study provides options for more fairly allocating the expenses of maintaining the sewer system. And this following presentation is just a broad overview of the study. No decisions are being made today. It's just, I think in the future, we'll probably have a work session to go over the details of this report, but it just gives you a chance to see the first view of it, think about it for a while, and we can schedule a meeting to make more concrete decisions later on. I have Randy with Veenstra and Kim is going to give the presentation.
Good evening. Thank you. Before we get going, again, I just want to really reiterate, we're not asking for any action on this. It's a broad overview. The goal was just to see what was equitable. It was not to raise any revenue on this at all. Just want to make sure that's clear. I do have Libby Patton on the phone. She is the author of this report. I mean, her and I work closely, but she's more our guru when it comes to doing these rate studies across the state. I mean, she does water and sewer, and we are doing the water rate study for Ottumwa Hydro. Couple thank yous. To get a lot of the raw data, there's a lot of raw data that goes behind these simple tables you've seen. I want to thank Tim with Ottumwa Hydro. Got us a lot of the water rates or water uses and a lot of water data. I want to thank Philip, and Cole. They helped give us a lot of raw data when it came to expenses, costs, and what revenue has been generated over the past. So again, the goal of this is just to try to make sure things are fair across the board. We didn't want to see one user group, paying more than and another user group getting the benefit and not having to pay. So again, we got a brief little presentation, and at the end, we'll kind of let you ask some questions, but I really believe that we're more than welcome to come back for a work session to really get in the weeds of it. We can bring up the spreadsheets. there's a mirror of, or a lot of different ideas and options. And we tried to present kind of the three that we kind of thought, or 3 and 3A, that we thought would probably be beneficial right now. So next slide.
It's right next to you.
No, I got it. You want to hit? I'll let you do it. So again, the city has a current rate ordinance, and so a lot of our revenue is based on the rate ordinance. So it has user groups on there: residential, single family, multifamily, hotels, general commercial, and industrial. So again, that is kind of where the revenue is generated. That sets the base, or that is where the money comes from to fund anything that deals with sanitary sewers. Next slide. So the goals of the sewer rate, again, want to make sure that all the revenue generated, that we're covering the costs, and having and able to cover the debt service, able to cover what future improvements are needed. So again, like that little table kind of shows, is it looks like, residential is paying a little bit or more when it comes to rates for the costs, and then commercial down there you see is kind of a little bit under. So in other words, commercial is getting a little bit more benefit for their, and the residential user group is kind of playing.
So just a little bit too, we have a base
Yeah,
charges.
that's the next slide. That's the next slide. Next slide. Yeah. So really how the revenue is generated is you have two parts of it. You have an access or base charge. What that is that's making sure you have the infrastructure and whatever debt, so that if one drop of water goes to the wastewater treatment plant, that is covered. So you got to have that system in place, because we know water is going to come down. And then the other one, the commodity fee, the user fee, that is then to treat the water that comes to the plant. So there's a base rate and a usage rate, and that is how the ordinance is set up. So that's where the total bill comes from. Next slide. So then the sewer utility fund, so the bank account, what that covers, it covers everything from the sanitary sewer conveyance, the pipes, the pump stations. It covers the wastewater treatment facility. And actually the sewer utility fund covers stormwater. As you know, we got combined sewers, we do separation. And so a lot of the stormwater is covered under this fund. Next slide. So in that report that you have there, we kind of looked at, okay, where are all the costs coming from? Where, how is it fairly being distributed? And the one thing we've seen is the base charge. The base charge, again, is to make sure we cover the expense to have everything in place. So residents all, I think, get charged at $20.65 right away. Hotels or large commercial or large multifamily, they also get that 1 unit charge. So that's kind of where you see an imbalance in how these rates are distributed. And so the other thing there is there's really no method or mechanism except the sewer fund to charge for stormwater. Kind of, we've been helping the city, and then Philip just mentioned here, there's projects that we got to separate. We got to take the intakes, the stormwater, from going into the sanitary sewer pipe. We don't want that going to the treatment plant, because that costs a lot of extra money to process that. So what happens is there's no way to recover just the stormwater fees. So if you have a large, humongous parking lot, goes into intakes, goes into the pipes, goes to the sanitary sewer, there's no way to recover that fee from, or that cost for that. So next slide. So we looked at some alternatives, and there's several other ones. And we gave a presentation, a couple to the staff, and they, bounced other ideas, this and that. So these are kind of the ones that seem to be kind of the first pass, the first take. And I know when you look at some of the stuff, the charts in the report, we kind of tried to compare apples to apples. I mean, we could mix all kinds of stuff together, but then you start losing, okay, how does this work compared to the other ones? So the first option or alternative was to put some kind of method in place to get the base charge for multi-units, hospitals, or excuse me, not hospitals, but hotels that have a lot more usage but aren't fair, paying the equitable rate. That was one idea. The second one was establishing a stormwater utility. And this was approached to the city, I think 20 plus years ago, 25 plus years ago. Didn't pass by at that time. But then I can tell you a majority of the similar communities or through the state have a stormwater utility to pay for maintaining storm structures and storm sewers, the pipes, all of that infrastructure that's needed by the city. So that was another item is, okay, we want to establish the stormwater. And if you look at this, I should effect on users, single family, like our goal was single family remains unchanged because they were already paying over their fair share. So the single family residential, we wanted to maintain that as unchanged, however this is distributed. The third option or idea was to implement, the additional, it's really taking 1 and 2 and putting them together and then making that more of an idea. So in other words, having a stormwater utility plus having additional, sewer access base charges on the hotels, multifamily, hospitals, or big commercials. So just making sure we got that captured. And then the last item, and this was one we kind of talked through with the city, was more or less, okay, we don't want to generate any more income. We like the idea of the stormwater utility. We like the idea of other users paying their fair share. So can we lower the residential rate? And so that's what 3A was doing, was lowering that rate.
So just to clarify, when we first started this study, we asked them to look at these rates without changing any of the base rates or changing any of the sewer fees, just looking at the distribution of it. And what they found was with a much larger user base than what we have now, we could lower the overall rates for everybody by broadening. So that was what that 3A is. It's taking all this more people are paying base fees now, so you can lower everybody's base fee to come up with the same revenue because you have a lot more people paying into it now.
Yep. Good point. So anyway, so that is in the book, and that's and again, there is a lot of data that comes behind this that kind of put these spreadsheets together. We can definitely come back and give you a presentation or through the workshop and just show you if you say, well, okay, we changed the base rate from 20 to 14. What does that do? Okay, we can put it to 15. Okay, we can put it to 8. How does that all work together? And then how does that work with the stormwater? So next slide. So this is just some comparisons to surrounding communities showing what the average single family monthly bill is. That was just more or less put in there just as just kind of showing what a single family average would be. And then the next slide. This is if we added a storm sewer utility, it has the ability to lower that residential sewer fee. So it's just an idea, it's an option, it's something that's been implemented in a lot of the larger communities, in the state of Iowa, and it's something we would like to consider with this. So
Can you go back a slide?
Yep.
Thank you. Okay. And then I just wanted to see the difference.
Yeah, the 5460 to the 4995. So.
Thank you.
So next slide. So I think we're kind of getting to the end of ours. Yeah. So really the next steps, we believe you're probably going to want to digest that information in that report, look at those tables in the back that shows all these different options and shows it for fiscal year 27, 28, 29, 30. We extended that out. And then we can, have a workshop, talk through each one of those options and just determine what works best for the city here. You know, the goal is not to generate revenue, it's just to make sure it's, you know, fairly distributed, or, you know, as equitable as really the term we keep using on that. Did I miss anything? Libby, did I miss anything? You're on?
I'm here ready. No, you did a nice job. I think
Okay.
you got a summary unless there's some questions.
Yeah, Libby would be the one with the spreadsheets right there that could tell you all kinds of stuff. So she had, you know, had some family time, so she couldn't make it tonight, but, you know, she would be here to really get into the weeds of the
Something
details.
that stood out to me, I liked, was the chart that showed us compared to other cities that are having to do a sewer separation.
Yep.
And how our base rate kind of falls mid-range. Actually, we were second to lowest on the base rate there, and our usage rate was about mid-range.
Yep.
So I thought when you compare to other cities that are having to separate their sewer system, I thought it looked like we were doing pretty good.
Yeah, I think your rate structure is pretty spot on. It's just getting it to distribute more fairly. So
So how many single-family homes do we have? Because I didn't see that in this report at all.
oh, you got
So
it.
there's about 9,000 single family accounts in town. And those are the ones that pay 92% of all the base fees right now.
If you look at the
But how many houses, I mean, how many locations do we have that have water service?
You add those together. Maybe 800 or 900 others that aren't single family homes that have
10% more.
And,
if you look
and on your
Well, I guess
hotel,
it'd be 92%. So 92% of those 9,000, and then the other 8%
Okay.
are.
that makes sense. When you did your hotel motel fees, were you considering full occupancy?
So yes. So there.
Well, I can tell you our hotels are rarely
Yeah,
fully
and-
occupied.
I know there's sometimes they're not, there's sometimes they are. Again, the base fee is more or less making sure if you have an event and that weekend you're 60, 70% capacity, okay, you have to have that infrastructure ready for that weekend. So that's kind of where that's kind of where we get back. They're paying their fair share on usage, water that goes to the treatment plant. We're just saying there's some opportunity there that they could pay more of instead of paying $20 like a resident pays, there's probably some opportunity that, hey, they should have more of a base charge that is more equitable for that situation.
So when you were figuring your base charge for, say, a hotel with, I think, what was your study? It said 160 rooms or something. How many meters were you thinking that they should be charged for?
I think that's a little more for a work session. I think the concept we're getting at is that, you know, like you said, a building that's really big that needs to have larger infrastructure running to it and larger infrastructure all the way downstream to the plant should probably pay more than a house that doesn't need that big infrastructure put in place downstream of them. So that's the concept behind it. We can discuss whether it's X or Y number of dollars per room, but I don't think we're close to figuring that out yet. Like at this point, this is not really I don't think we want to get too far in the weeds. We'll be here for hours.
Yeah, probably so.
And if you look at those spreadsheets in the back of the report, it kind of shows a little bit of that data. That kind of gives you a glimpse of that. And that's kind of one of the things, if we came back to a work session, we can say, okay, let's change it to this. What does it do and stuff?
Your sheet that you brought tonight, your PowerPoint, can we get copies of that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think Philip has it. So, well, the city has it. We're on the screen here, so.
Okay.
We do have one citizen that wanted to speak on this item, so I'm going to ask Belinda Smith Cicerella to come forward. And Andrew. So if you guys could state your name and address,
And I do have handouts.
and we do have handouts.
My name's Belinda Andrew Smith Chicarella. Hello. And we wanted to put this sewer fee portion as a part of a broader problem that we see. Thank you so much. I have more of the child's height. And so we love Ottumwa. We really like living here. We think we have an excellent police force. We currently have good city leadership. You know, we love our firefighters and even our city inspectors. But we still don't get big businesses here, and we still don't get more and more prosperous people here. Why is that? I think it's because of those three top things that I put on the handout. And the city just keeps charging all of us more and more every year, and we feel it, everyone sees it, and that is not how you attract business. If you want to attract big business, if you want to attract more landlords, if you want landlords to improve our rentals, then you need to support us. If you keep adding sewer fees, just the sewer fees alone will steal from our family $8,000 alone in the first year. That's how much they'll steal. And I just want to bring up the fact of usage. We have one rental, for example, has it's a 5-plex. So then we would be charged $20, $40, $60, $80, $100 a month extra on that 5-plex that has 5 people in it. Right next door, Marshall Islands people with 13 people living in the house and 4 people living in the garage. That's 17 people on 1 meter fee for single family use. And then our 5-plex just says 5 people. I bet we use a lot less water. The only fair way to charge for sewer, of course, is by usage. And they already double the sewer rate to the water rate. And then when we have a water leak, we just had a water leak. Our bill was $300 in water overage. So guess what our sewer bill was? Over $600. And none of it went into the sewer. So when you are charging for a service that is not used, what is that called other than theft, right? So we paid $900 in overage, and we should have just paid $300 in overage. So the sewer is already, they're getting already a ton of money from us. I don't think they need more. And my big point here is, you know, if we want to lure in more people, more prosperous people, bigger businesses, the way that you do that is lowering property taxes, lowering fees. We just had an instance that a top developer for apartments was looking at Ottumwa, and he found out about the sewer fees. He found out that he was going to get charged per unit, and talked to the top electrician. It's actually over there. Talked to the top electrician here in town, and he said, the developer said, because of these fees, because they're constantly bringing in more franchise fees, now they want to double the franchise fees, they are no longer going to build apartment buildings here. And that's how it is, back and forth.
Thank you.
Uh-huh. Thank you.
I guess what I'm hearing is that more, like, obviously, we're just accepting this today, but more conversations need to occur before we do
Absolutely.
anything.
Mhm. Okay, so we're just accepting the report.
Correct.
Right. So, Sherry, if you would take the roll, please.
Councilmember Dupre,
No.
Wait a minute, there was no motion.
No, they made a motion earlier, but.
Before presentation.
There's no real need for action because they've already received the presentation. There's no vote
So we don't even need to take a roll?
no.
All right. We'll just move to resolutions then.
Resolution 42, 2026, approving and accepting sanitary sewer easement for property located at 413 North Birch. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution 42, 2026.
Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Bergmeyer.
Thank you, Mayor. So I'm just reading this off because I'm not really 100% familiar with everything on here. So the city accepted sealed bids until 2:00 p.m. on the 28th day of March 2024 for the disposal of 413 Birch. 7 bids were received, with David Osario submitting the highest bid of $18,000. Resolution 95-2024 was adopted by the City Council on April 16, 2024, authorizing the disposal of 413 North Birch for Mr. Osario. At the time of this authorization, the city was working on a CSO sewer separation project in this area, and it was noted that the property's disposal was questionable. In April 2025, the city was notified that the work near his property was complete and we could move forward with the disposal to Mr. Osario. However, a sanitary sewer easement is needed. The original conveyance of the property was completed without mention of an easement, and it's easiest for the buyer to grant the easement to the city at closing, followed by the city council approving and accepting the sewer easement by resolution. The sewer easement will then need to be recorded. So I guess I'm not familiar with that process. All I know is that we did need an easement on this property to construct the new 36-inch sanitary sewer of Blake's Branch. And I know that they had put it out for bid, and we delayed the closing until we finished putting in the sewer beside the house and had the easement there. So I believe all this does is accept the easement, which we do need the easement because we have a sewer there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think at the time we were concerned that if we went through with the sewer, that because it was close enough to the house, there could be an issue with that. But after it went through, it was fine and we could dispose of the
We didn't feel
property.
comfortable giving him the property, then digging the hole next to his house. We wanted to dig the hole first, and then I guess he could have backed out if it had damaged it at all.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? If not, Sherry, take the roll.
Councilmember Dupre,
Yes.
Councilmember Cavanagh,
Yes.
Councilmember Reed,
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway,
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman.
Yes.
Resolution number 57, 2026, ordering construction of the 2026 asphalt street repair program and fixing a date for hearing thereon and taking of bids therefore. Recommendation, pass and adopt resolution 57, 2026.
Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Bergmeyer.
All right, thank you, Mayor. So the primary purpose of this resolution is to order construction of the project and to set dates for accepting bids and holding the public hearing. So in past years, this asphalt construction contract would determine unit prices, and the specific streets were chosen later. So this project is a little bit different in that we've chosen the streets ahead of time. And it'll give the contractors a little more certainty on location and quantities, which should result in better pricing. So we anticipate opening up the bids on April 1st, 2026 at 2:00 p.m. and presenting the bid report and bid award recommendations at the council meeting on April 7th. So asphalt street program this year, we are planning on resurfacing 6.4 lane miles of street in the southwest portion of Ottumwa. It's generally south of Albia Road and west of McKinley. How are these streets chosen? The sewer separation work is complete in this area. There's a large number of streets of similar age, allowing for economies of scale and avoiding remobilizations, and preservation is still a cost-effective treatment. So the blue lines on here that when they drop down, those represent, opportunities to fix a street with just rehabilitation, maybe an overlay, maybe a few inches of asphalt on it. And it is much, much, much cheaper to do a street at that point in time. If you wait till it gets to that black dash line where reconstruction is necessary, like that table is not proportional to cost. It probably costs 4 times as much to reconstruct a street as it does just to resurface it. So once you have that base there, you want to try to preserve that as much as possible, not let it just fall apart, because then you're having to reconstruct everything and it just costs a lot more money. So just talking about streets in general, just a little refresher. Where's the funding for streets come from? Most of the money for street construction comes from local option sales tax. 70% of our local option sales tax is earmarked for street construction. That's kind of nice because you have people who shop in Ottumwa may not live here, but they still use our streets to get around. So they help contribute to the cost of our streets a little bit. Sewer separation builds some streets too. We have those sewer separation money comes from sewer fees. And this project we're working on now is a state revolving fund. So in the past 5 years of sewer separation, we spent $27.5 million separating sewers out. but have only reconstructed 6.6 lane miles. So you don't get a bunch of street reconstruction for the money, but there is, you're tearing streets up anyway, so you get some residual new streets that way. Surface transportation block grants, that's around $600,000 a year from the DOT. We usually contract design on those. The contracts are let by the DOT. We cannot use that money on local streets. That's used for collector and above, so collector and arterial streets. Mary Street right now, that's an example of an STBG project. Road use, which comes from the gas tax. We use that to pay for maintenance of the right of way. So we have a street maintenance crew. There's 9 operators and 1 working supervisor. They maintain 320 lane miles of streets and 57 miles of alleys. They do patching, pothole repairs, grading, ditching, etc. We also have a traffic maintenance crew that has 2 operators, 2 electricians, and a working supervisor. They're responsible for street signs, traffic lights. They paint street markings. They paint parking lot markings. They do traffic control for different events. We also have street sweepers that sweep the street, but they're paid for out of road use fund. There's 2 of those. When they're not sweeping streets, they also do snow removal. I guess that's street lights. That's not part of the street sweeping, but all the electricity for the street lights around town, that comes out of the road use fund. So 10% of the money that comes in from gas taxes goes back out to the electric company to pay for street lights. We also do bridge inspections and bridge maintenance. And again, we pay for snow removal with the road use funds too. So that's where all the money from road use goes to. In the past, there was a fund balance left at the end of the year that we would use to pay for some street reconstruction. There's no longer a surplus to use for that. The last gas tax increase was in 2015. Since then, funding from our road use allocation has gone up 20%, while inflation has been 50% for street reconstruction. So we have less money now than we did 10 years ago to help streets, pay for streets through the gas tax. Just a little note I wanted to go over too. Kind of a misconception. Your property taxes don't pay for street reconstruction work. There's a small amount of property taxes that used to pay part of the benefits for the road use employees that are paid for the road use fund, but that's just a small amount of their benefits that are paid out of that. And in the future, debt service may be used to supplement the street reconstruction fund, but I don't think this year we used any debt service, which will also have property taxes.
Not in the current fiscal year, but in the proposal for our fiscal year 25, there's $400,000 as part of the CIP bond that will go towards street reconstruction.
Okay, so next year we'll have some money coming out of property taxes for streets, but not this year. And that blank spot on the side, I had a table there, kind of showing the issue with why Ottumwa doesn't use property taxes for streets, but someone else made a much better table, so I used it instead. This is just like a table showing population of Ottumwa versus Marshalltown and Muscatine and how low the tax base is in Ottumwa. So even though our tax rate is really high, our revenue per capita is like $200 a person lower than Muscatine.
Right.
So after you end up paying for police and paying for fire and paying for a library and paying for your parks, you know, Muscatine has $200 more per person than we do to pay for all that. So they can have some money left over for streets. Whereas Ottumwa, we have such a low tax base that there's just not money left over in the general fund for street reconstruction. This is just a street by street overview of what streets we're looking at. So Finley Avenue, west of Skyline. This is a 3-inch street from 1995. It's one of those streets that's completely gone. We can't move ahead like some of the streets are. We can't improve it at all. We're just going to mill the whole 3 inches that's existing off there and put 3 inches back. East of Skyline, there's 5 inches there. And this is kind of our goal, was to get at least 5 inches on every street if we could, but without doing more than 3 inches at one street, because we want to get everybody beneath the street. And then hopefully before that first 3 inches is gone west of Skyline, we can come back and build it up later. So anyway, east of Skyline, built at the same time, a little bit thicker, but because it's thicker, it lasts a little bit longer. So we can just mill 2 inches, put 2 inches back, give it a good new surface, and it still has that 3 inches of old asphalt underneath it for a base. It's also going to get some new PCC curb and gutter because there's an old asphalt curb there that doesn't hold up very well. Asphalt doesn't hold up very well to running water. So we're going to change that to a concrete curb and gutter. Skyline Drive, south of Greenwood, it has 3 inches of existing asphalt. It is older than 95. So I wonder if that 3-inch core was maybe in a thin spot and it has a little bit thicker spot elsewhere. So we're going to try to build that up, mill off 1 inch and put 3 inches back. And then Greenwood to Albia Road, there's a 4-inch base that was last rehabbed in 1997. And so we wanted to mill 1 inch off of that and place 2 inches back, build that up to a 5-inch thick mat. And when we say 1 inch thick, we're just trying to get the loose stuff, the loose oxidated asphalt off the top, just to give it something good to bond to. And so that's why that 1 inch mill is on all these streets. Finley Avenue, east of McKinley. It's a little bit newer, but again, it's really thin. So we want to try to get in there and rehab it, build up some base to it, build up some thickness before it becomes a thing where we're having to mill all 3.5 inches off of there. So we want to get back in there and do that. So that's mill 1 inch and place 3 inches on there. It'll have 5.5 inches when that's done. Minneopa, there's a HMA sections and an overlaid section. So the HMA section, again, is pretty thin, pretty new, but we're trying to build that up now before it gets really, really bad and you have to just rebuild the entire thing. So we're just going to try to mill 1 inch off and place 3 inches back. So you have 5.5 inches asphalt there. And then the overlay section has a concrete street from 1954. The overlay was built in 2007. So again, to avoid having to remote back in there if there's a small overlaid section, 20-year-old overlay is about to the point when most cities start looking at overlaying it. So we're going to just re-overlay that small section of overlay street too. McKinley Avenue, it's a much thicker street. It was anywhere from 6 to 10 inches thick. Last overlaid in 97. And like I said, you can tell because it's so much thicker how much better shape it's in. But that being said, there is a lot of deterioration on the inside of the curves. So we want to add curb and gutter to the inside of some of these curves to prevent the edge deterioration. And then we're going to just hit it with a 2-inch mill and fill to rehab the surface area so the oxidation and the surface cracking doesn't continue propagating down into the street. Greenwood Drive from Wildwood to McKinley. It's a 1946 concrete. It was widened in 1990 with a 2.5 inch overlay. We couldn't find any records of any work done since then. So if that's a 35-year-old overlay that's still not completely falling apart, that's pretty amazing. So glad it lasted that long, but you can see there's kind of just some deterioration in the curb and gutter there. And this picture doesn't show it, but there's other sections that have been extensively patched. So we're just going to mill and fill 2 inches on that street. Lake Drive to the dead ends is another 1946 street. We don't know when it was overlaid. We only have records going back to 1995. So it's been at least 30 years since it was overlaid. Pretty bad shape. You can see from that picture, there's a lot of potholes, a lot of exposed concrete. So we're going to mill that old overlay off and put 2 inches of asphalt back on there. And then from Wildwood to Minneopa, there's only 2 inches of asphalt placed on that section. And it's basically a gravel road now. So we're going to mill that 2 inches off and then put 3 inches on there. The intent to, next time we come back there, we'll build it back up to 5. There we go. Lake Drive from Albia to Greenwood, another 1946 concrete street, another street that was overlaid sometime before 1995. So it's at least 30 years old. And again, really, really bad shape. So going to mill 2 inches off that and put 2 inches back. We think there's enough structure in the concrete still that it'll hold. Gladstone, it's PCC now. 2 sections, built in 2 sections. One section was 1995, there was 1963. We plan on kind of profile milling the existing. And then since it's been so long, streets should have been overlaid a long time ago. So rather than overlaying it with just your regular conventional asphalt, we're going to place a 2-inch high pro layer on there. That's like a super dense waterproof asphalt layer. And it's also much more flexible than normal asphalt. And I think it'll hold up a lot longer on that street than just a regular 2-inch overlay would. And it'll be worth the extra. So it's a lot more expensive. So that's why I don't use it everywhere. But we spoke with some contractors and they think using it here would probably be a good place for it. And then on Gladstone east of Lake Drive, that's a full depth asphalt street. Again, sometime before 1995. And the 4.5 inches is still kind of holding up for the most part. So we're going to try to mill 1 inch off and place 2 back to build it up to 5.5 inches thick. Wildwood Drive, Finley to Greenwood, another 1946 street. I think all these streets were paved at the same time too, back in 1946. Overlaid sometime before 95, so it's over 30 years old. We planned on just milling the 2 inches off of there and put 2 inches back on for that street. And then north of Greenwood to Albia Road, same age, a little bit newer overlay. but it's 25 years old. If we let it go a few more years, it'll be really bad shape. So rather than letting that overlay deteriorate anymore and start deteriorating the underlying pavement, we were gonna overlay that while we're in the neighborhood. So that's all the streets, 6.5 miles.
Any questions?
I just want to point out too that this will be the biggest asphalt program we've done since at least 10 years. It'll be double probably the next biggest one. So we're trying to hit a lot of streets this year and hoping to get really good prices on it so we can continue doing stuff like this that hopefully makes it worth our money to do it.
You said 6.5 miles. What is the total cost of this?
We're estimating $1,570,000. To reconstruct that would be $6 million easy if we had to reconstruct all those streets. So
Just to say it again, 6 miles costs over $1 million.
yeah,
to
$1.5 million.
fix. Yep.
That's just to overlay it. That's not to
Yeah,
build
that's
new.
not completely
Yeah,
redoing
you're
the
not starting
streets.
from the foundation.
So it's not part of this plan, but I know that north of Albia Road, you've got McKinley and you've got Gray Streets. Those are getting worked on this summer.
Grace
too.
and Minneopa, you'll be seeing that hopefully at the next council meeting. We're trying to wrap up the design now. So something else we're trying to do too is a lot of times in the past we tried to scatter the asphalt streets around and try to hit the bad stuff and do a little bit in each neighborhood, which it helps a little bit that way, but you're spending a lot of money moving all that equipment around town to overlay with. And if we can stick to one neighborhood where we can get all of it done in one spot, you'll have a whole neighborhood with brand new streets like all over. And
that'd be nice.
I think it'll help improve the mood of the neighborhood, help, you'll be able to drive on new streets all over the place. And it helps us too, because we can save money by having all the reconstruction in one area. And we're going to try to do that and like move through different sections of town to get in and out of an area and not, have a bunch of disruption maybe for 1 or 2 years, and then we'll out of there and they'll be, hopefully in good shape for 15, 20 years after that.
Right.
So to do this 6.6 miles, will that be all done in a year, or are we talking a couple of years?
No, that'll be all done in 1 year. Asphalt is a pretty fast process, way faster than concrete, because you're laying it down and it's done. An hour later you can drive on it. Whereas, concrete, it's a week at least or maybe not a week to cure it, but several days to cure it. And then there's a lot more work to reconstruct a street.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? If not, Sherry, take the roll.
Councilmember Dupre,
Yes.
Councilmember Cavanis, Councilmember Reed,
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway,
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman.
Yes.
Resolution 61, 2026, approving a 2-year lease agreement with Ottumwa Habitat for Humanity to lease office space within the building known as the Depot, located at 210 West Main Street, and authorize the mayor to sign the lease. Recommendation, pass and adopt resolution 61, 2026.
Do I have a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Second.
Thank you, Administrator. You're doing this.
All right. So this lease is actually a revised lease with the Ottumwa Habitat for Humanity. They originally were going to lease space out of this building before the rehab of the building, and we had to put that on hold. And then with operating out of the depot, it looks like there's an opportunity there. A lease would run from the date of execution by both parties through October 31 of 2028. The lease space would be for space on the lower level of the depot building. Copy of the agreement was attached to the summary for review and consideration. It has been approved by Habitat.
Any questions or comments? Okay, Sherry, take the roll, please.
Councilmember Dupre,
Yes.
Councilmember Cavanis,
Yes.
Councilmember Reed,
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway,
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman.
Yes.
Resolution number 62, 2026, adopting a residency and response requirement policy for certain critical or essential city employees identified by the Ottumwa City Council. Recommendation, pass and adopt resolution number 62, 2026.
Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, I'll be presenting this one. This again is a resolution, and I'm going to read it the way it's written now, and then I have a couple of comments that I think we need to discuss. So Iowa Code section, sorry, I can't read, 400.17 permits cities to establish reasonable residency or distance requirements for certain public employees. The Ottumwa City Council has identified the following positions as critical or essential according to the purposes of this policy and the residency requirements contained herein. City Administrator, Fire Chief, Director of Community Development. In addition to the above referenced positions, all department directors or department heads shall maintain their primary residence within Wapello County or within 50 miles of the city of Ottumwa. So for purposes of this policy, primary resident means the place where an employee maintains their principal domicile and to which the employee intends to return after periods of absence. So employees subject to this policy must remain reasonably available to respond to emergencies, operational needs, or callbacks, and must be able to report to their assigned work location within the response time frame described in this policy. The City Council may grant temporary waives of the residency or distance requirements. I can't hardly see. In cases involving recruitment needs, hardship, or other circumstances determined appropriate by the council. Current department directors or department heads who are not in compliance with the requirements of this policy shall take responsible steps to comply no later than the beginning of fiscal year 2028, unless otherwise waived by council. Except as provided otherwise pursuant to a collective bargaining agreement, employees not identified as critical or essential under this policy are not required to reside within the city of Ottumwa or within any specific distance of the city. Residency within the city is encouraged, but not required. And again, the intent for this is to ensure the leadership of our community as part of our community. It is crippling to try to improve a community when not fully invested in it. So it is also the expectation of the community that our leaders are vested and involved in and be an integral part of our community. As I state, Iowa Code 400.173B does allow cities to set a maximum distance for certain critical employees. Right now, we do have one for our firefighters. We currently have a distance of 30 miles, 30-mile radius from the city requirement for all firefighters. What I wanted to also talk about is possibly an adjustment to what I had written. One would be the residency inside the city limits. What I would propose is, if the council approves, is to change that to only city administrator and no other department heads. But then also making it so that all directors and department heads, the mile radius would change from 50 miles to 30. So then that would align with the current restriction or residency requirement that we have for our firefighters. And then all our department heads and directors would be in that same expectation. Again, this is to show the citizens of Ottumwa that the people who are leading our city are part of our community. And that's the intent of this resolution. So I would involve any questions or comments now.
Just to clarify, I just want to make sure I understood. So remove the essential or the in town just to the city administrator,
Correct.
and then change all department head directors, or so all department directors or department heads to 30.
Yeah, within 30 miles of the city of Ottumwa, which would also would remove the Wapello County stipulation, because you can be outside of Wapello County. You can be 30 miles, inside of 30 miles and be outside Wapello County. So Wapello County would then be removed from that as well.
So okay. I have some other questions too. Okay, let's start with the fiscal year, the 2028 one. Why why push? I guess again, I go back to why are we developing a policy? I agree that I think that we should have, like, our city administrator should 100% live in our community. And I agree that when we want our people to be part of our community, but can we do that through contract? Like, does it have to be by 2028 or can it be done through employment contracts like going forward? So any new employees have to be within that.
So looking at other communities that have put these in place, some have put them in place to where there was a certain time period to where current employees would need to meet that expectation. Other ones would put it in place to where only new employees would need to meet that expectation and all existing ones were grandfathered in.
Yeah.
Other ones had it to where everyone would need to do so immediately or as quickly as possible. So again, that kind of depends on the community. I put fiscal year 28 because I know we do have some that are outside the 30-mile radius, and I want to give ample time. I think we need to give ample time for them to make possible arrangements as to becoming a resident inside that 30-mile radius for our city. I also think it's important that they're part of our community as a whole. I'd love for them to all be inside city limits, but at the same time, I also understand, and this is me too, I'm a country guy, but I live in downtown Ottumwa. And with that, you know, if I had the ability to live just outside the city and still be involved in the community, I would do that. And I think that our department heads and directors should have that ability, but I also think they need to be close enough to where they're involved in the community as well.
Okay, and then I have, so we don't define and maybe define essential and non-essential. So I don't know if that needs to be, I mean, we had defined non-essential, but not essential except for the city administrator. So I don't know if, because we're changing that, if that needs to be changed. And then also we have a waiver authority and say that the city council may grant temporary waivers, but there's no process identified and what that looks like, how that works. Who does that waiver go to? Who makes the waiver? Is it the employee? Is it like who does that process? So I think that that needs to be, if we're going to say that that's in here, then we have to have a defined process for that.
Do you have a suggestion?
No, I don't. I don't know what that looks like. I mean, I would like to see this maybe for new employees because we do have a lot of great employees and why that are active in the community. When I look around at the table, I mean, I can see, you know, Sonia right here with the library. She does a great job. She's greatly involved in the community. Jean, Cole, Chief, what? Someone said something. Oh, Chief Farrington. I mean, oh, the JD's hiding. Phillips there too. Chief Canto's in the community. Actually, I don't know where everyone lives too. I think said a few of them. But so why wouldn't we make that the next step, like new department heads or new directors?
And that's certainly something that we could change it to. However, I think putting in a timeline, so even our current department heads, directors, leaders of the city, to move into our community and show the community that they're vested in the community that they're working in. I think that not only helps with their position, but it also helps with public perception and the public support of what they're doing here.
It seemed like there's a possibility then if the deadline came and they still hadn't been able to find a place and, you know, they explained the difficulties that they were having, you know, we could extend them some more time, you know,
Sure.
too. It wouldn't have to box them in quite that tight, but a year and 3 months seems like a lot. But then I'm not the one moving, so I don't know
Yeah.
if that's enough time or not.
I make a suggestion with the number of changes that are being proposed here and maybe alternatively of maybe postponing or tabling this and working some of that out either in a work session or through your drafted revisions and bring it back. I mean, the date could still be the same for moving into the city. And this only affects, with the proposed changes, my position, which is done by contract. So we wouldn't even need to be part of this as a requirement. It could be, but it wouldn't need to be because of the contract language that would be in place.
Sure.
So, just a suggestion, because
And again, I just want to preface, I agree that we should have, our department heads should be part of the community and stuff too. I'm just wondering if we need to kind of flush this out a little bit more before we put it into place.
And, you know, I just want to put my 2 cents in. So if we go to a special meeting, that's fine. And I can see doing it through attrition. And, you know, there's been good points made here. But from my point, so everybody's going to hate me, I value our employees. I think they're the best. Our every employee we have is what makes this city to me great. It's what keeps the city running. However, one of the goals is to bring jobs to Ottumwa, bring people to Ottumwa, and bring housing to Ottumwa. And as a councilman in an elected position, I being responsible for taxpayer money, it's hard for me to send that money out of town. You know what I mean? Right. If like I said, our department heads are great. I don't want to lose anybody, but especially in a financial crunch, you have to be committed to the community. You have to love the community. And I just believe that I can't in all good consciousness take large salaries, taxpayer money. And I'm not saying they don't deserve those salaries. I'm just saying I can't take those and send those taxes, those bills, that grocery money, that car payment to somebody else's town. And I believe to truly promote the town and to truly grow the town, you have to be committed. There's a lot of you sitting here, you're committed. I mean, you have to be committed. We're not all going to be happy all the time. I mean, things are going to go wrong, but I think it's a little different when people show commitment. And I believe being part of the community so.
Tamir, what Bill said, I agree. One of the things that I heard was one of the reasons that our wages were as high as they were was to draw people to come to the city, to work for the city. But I would expect them to also live near the city, not take it somewhere else.
Sure.
And again, I don't disagree with that at all. I just don't know if this policy is ready with the changes. We don't have a process for waiver requests. I want to make sure that, again, that it's nailed out in the policy to protect us from other things too. If you don't have a process for waivers and then we approve one, but we don't approve others, are we setting ourselves up and the taxpayers up for a lawsuit?
And that's fair to have a list of criteria.
So am I hearing a motion to table?
I would move to table so we can hammer out some more of the details in this, especially with the changes that Mayor Foote suggested.
I would agree to table. I just would like to maybe discuss it soon. I don't want this to get lost in the.
Can you say that again, Bill? I didn't hear you.
I'm sorry. I'd like to do it soon so it doesn't get lost in the shuffle.
That makes sense.
So I've had a motion to table. Is there a second?
Second.
So did you hear that? All right.
No, he's coughing.
Oh. So Sherry, take the roll, please.
Councilmember Dupre,
Yes.
Councilmember Cavanagh,
Yes.
Councilmember Reed,
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway,
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman.
Yes.
Okay, resolution number 63, 2026, ordering construction of the WPCF vertical loop reactor, VLR, gate installation project and fixing a date for hearing thereon and taking bids therefore. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution 63, 2026.
A motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Second.
Mr. Bergmeyer.
Thank you, Mayor. So the primary purpose of this resolution is to order construction of the project and set dates for accepting bids and holding the public hearing. This project will replace 5 gates in the VLR, which is the vertical loop reactor. It's where the actual treatment of the biological treatment of sewage takes place. So it'll replace 5 gates in that reactor, 1 gate at the diffuser where the treated sewage goes into the river, and 1 gate at the Walnut Pump Station, where it's where the outlet for the Walnut Pump Station either goes out to the river or goes through the diffuser. And then there's also some repairs to the VLR cell 2. We had some anchors come loose and it damaged some of the diffuser vanes. So the repair of those is also part of this project. The bids will be received and opened by the City of Ottumwa on April 1st, 2026 at 2 p.m. And the bid report and bid award recommendation will be presented to the council at the April 7th council meeting. The wastewater has a $725,600 budget for capital improvements. The amount we've approved so far for capital improvements this year is $183,156.30. So this project estimated for $75,000, and we have $542,443.70 available. So we have all this equipment here. We ordered it ourselves, again, because of long lead times. We prefer to order the stuff ahead of time, have it on site. So that way, when we bid the project, the contractor knows the equipment's there and they can start it right away, rather than having to anticipate, 6-8 months out. So again, this is just an installation contract.
Any questions or comments? Sherry, take the roll.
Councilmember Dupre,
Yes.
Councilmember Cavanagh,
Yes.
Councilmember Reed,
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway,
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman.
Yes.
Resolution 64, 2026, approving and authorizing the purchase of certain real property and authorizing execution of a real estate purchase agreement with Nathan Ryder, Lakes Branch Phase 8, Division 3 Sewer Separation Project. Recommendation, pass and adopt Resolution 64, 2026.
Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Bergmeyer.
All right, thank you, Mayor. So in order to construct and maintain parts of the Blakes Branch Phase 8 Division 3 Sewer Separation Project, several small land acquisitions are required. This acquisition will be used to connect some houses that are facing Jefferson Street to a new separate sanitary sewer that's in the alley behind their houses. This acquisition offer was based on a land valuation report performed by the city, performed for the city by JCG Land Services. The land acquisition is for the purchase of 914 square feet of land from Nathan Ryder for a sum of $915. Staff had met and worked with the current property owner, explained in detail the planned improvements, and Mr. Ryder has agreed to the terms and signed the purchase agreement. The resolution will authorize the mayor to sign this purchase agreement on behalf of the city.
Any questions or comments? Okay, Sherry, take the roll, please.
Councilmember Dupre,
Yes.
Councilmember Cavanagh,
Yes.
Councilmember Reed,
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway,
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman.
Yes.
Resolution 65, 2026, approving and authorizing the purchase of certain real property and authorizing execution of real estate purchase agreement with Russo Sanchez, Lakes Branch Phase 8, Division 3 Sewer Separation Project. Pass and adopt Resolution 65, 2026.
Is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Second.
Mr. Bergmeyer.
All right, thank you, Mayor. So this purchase will allow the city to eliminate an offset intersection by realigning Norris Street to intersect Jefferson directly across from Garrett Street. This acquisition offer was based off a land valuation report performed for the city by JCG Land Services, a slightly different valuation because it was considered commercial property since it's near the gas station and some stuff around Jefferson Street. So it was a little bit more. It was $2,848 or 2,848 square feet for a sum of $10,000. The staff has met and worked with the current property owner, explaining in detail the proposed improvements. And Mrs. Sanchez has agreed to the purchase agreement, and this resolution will authorize the mayor to sign the contract.
Any questions or comment? Sherry, take the roll, please.
Councilmember Dupre,
Yes.
Councilmember Cavanagh,
Yes.
Councilmember Reed,
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway,
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman.
Yes.
Thank you. So now we're moving to the section of public forum. I have several here that I'm going to call up. We'll do those first. Again, when you get called up, you come up to the podium. You'll have 3 minutes. You'll need to state your name and address. After I go through the ones that have given us request forms, then we'll open it up to others as well. Keep in mind, these are non-agenda items, so that means the city council may not respond to what you're coming, but this gives you an opportunity to comment. So with that, Mr. Dan Palin.
Okay, first off, we can't hear half of you in the back. You keep turning your head away from the microphone. We can't hear you. We can't hear a thing you say, okay? And I just want to say, if this was a business, you'd have to change your ways, okay? I paid $428 for a garage permit. In Bloomfield, it's $25. And my 428 did not even include plumbing, heating, electrical, or anything. The 25 in Bloomfield included all that. The permits are getting way out of hand, and people in Ottumwa are getting tired. I made a comment to the inspector the other day, people aren't building in Ottumwa for a reason. And he looked at me and said, yes, they are. No, low rent housing's building. No one's putting up houses. One year I plumbed 8 houses in 1 year. That was in 97. I had 98, something like that. What was there, 2 houses last year? This town's not growing, people. And I'm not up here to complain all the way, but if my business is hurting, I either change my ways or I'm kicked out of business. You can't just keep spending money. The school board, I'd hate to say it, I ask you, if you guys have any control on the school board spending, do you?
No.
No.
How do we rein back in those taxes? They can't even spend all the money that they're getting from the taxes, and yet they keep wanting to raise it every year. There's school teachers in this town that make more money than a lot of other people in different bigger towns. We're paying more property tax a lot of times in West Des Moines and Clive. We are not West Des Moines and Clive, people. And we got to run this as a business. My wife and I took a pay cut because everything was going out of control with COVID. We took a pay cut to keep in business. We can't keep taking pay cuts. We can't keep spending money in these rentals and trying to get everybody to help us out with the rentals. These people that are coming into this town are trashing this town. They're bringing in people from low rent places because they can get affordable housing here. They're not doing anything for this town. Nothing. We need to bring in responsible businesses. Look how many people left Wapello County. Cargill would have been over here.
Mm-hmm.
Pioneer would have been over here. A lot of people would have been over here.
So Mr. Bob Myers.
Robert Myers, Bob, 1590 North Van Buren. And I want to thank you for allowing me to come speak as a member of the public. And also I'd like to thank all of you council for having ran for office. And I know parts of what you're going through. As a former city councilman of 14 years, the comments I want to make are not to direct you that this is what you should do. But I think as I've read of some of your articles, of the newer ones, and as you started your office, you did some council training with departments and learned a lot. And I remember doing that. And I remember some of the things that were really important were with our staff, department heads, directors, all of the staff, was integrity and process. And I believed in that anyway, but it was very important to me from the very beginning. So now I hear that after 18 years, we're having our parks director leave, not by choice, but because whatever reasons. And I know you don't want to get into personnel. I don't want you to, but I do want you to know that the 14 years I was on the council, I worked with that parks director just as I did with all the other staff and department heads. And one of the things I would tell you for 14 years, if the administration had asked me, Bob, name a staff member, a department head or director that you think really exemplified the integrity that we want in our person. This parks director, by the way, you council, we as a council, we directed these people at times to do things that weren't popular, but I could count on that department that Gene Ratchey ran as being done according to what was directed, and not to have from his people then, putting it down or telling why it's bad and spreading it that way in the public. So I just wanted you to know that my experience with this person for 14 years was nothing but the utmost of integrity. Now, it just so happens, I had heard of this suggestion that Mr. Ratchey was to leave by March 24th, and I couldn't believe it, but I started looking through just by chance this morning, and I'd already made up my mind I wanted to come speak, but just by chance this morning, I turned the radio on, and what do I hear? But Gene Ratchey and his group of people that are putting on the kids fishing, trout fishing derby this week. And I thought, I remember when Gene started that program. In fact, I did some trout fishing. Didn't do very well, but did some trout fishing. And then I'm thinking, oh, Gene Ratchey, that's the same person that oversees over. Does that mean I'm done?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Mitch Niner.
Good evening. Mitch Niner, 420 Hackworth Street here in Ottumwa. Just like to have a little quick comment about the old North Hy-Vee 2543 North Court. In 12 of 25, that building was purchased by the Bridge Church. Now follow along with me. 4 of 24, the Bridge Church pulled a building permit. Later on in that year, and some of this, the only reason I know the activity at the building is our rideshare van parks in the parking lot. So I lay eyes on it every day, or we did. Later in that year, you started seeing Carroll construction vehicles in the parking lot and dumpsters. Then I hear that they have purchased the building, which is great. You know, the building doesn't sit vacant. The church ended up not needing it evidently for a church, unless they bought it to make money. So from that time forward till now, Carroll Construction is in their building. They've cut holes in the walls using Bridge Church permits. Why we allowed that to happen, I have no idea. The permits were signed off in January of 26. There's no church in there. It's a construction company. Should be fines, should be something. You would have done that for the normal person. You would have court ordered them to stop until they did the right process. From that point to now, you can twist this up however you want it, Ben. They might have purchased the building, but it's not filed at the courthouse. They might legally own it. They don't officially own it. There's been no taxes paid on that property. They've been operating a multi-million-dollar business in that building and haven't paid any taxes to this point today. $55,000 a half, plus $2,some hundred for a little piece of parcel in the parking lot. So let's just figure $115,000 the county and the city got beat out of. How can that be, folks? You guys need to pay more attention to these properties that are coming off the tax rolls and turning into churches. You got one on South Moore that's just a party house, but it's a church. I don't know how to solve this. You people need to get together with the county and figure out how to solve this. Because to me, it's property tax fraud. And I have reason to believe that they way overstepped their chapter and their stuff with the state as far as being a church. Maybe they don't know it's not filed. I don't have any idea. I know what I know what you guys should do. Get together with the county and figure this out. Because I'm calling the state tomorrow morning and I'm going to get that ball started. Thank you.
Thank you. Katie Howard.
Good evening. Thanks for hearing me. 1111 Hamilton, Ottumwa. I have some comments about your budget process, and these comments are meant to be helpful. They may sound somewhat critical, but they are meant to be helpful. I was very distressed at last week's budget work session. You have plus or minus $1 million shortfall in the general fund, which is significant. I'm going to make some suggestions for a different approach. Asking finance or department staff to identify possible cuts ensures that they're going to start with the status quo. This approach is not strategic. It's not a big picture approach. The current budget approach is a rollover budget that is then tweaked to match expected revenues. A better approach might be to start with a zero-based budget that assumes nothing about the status quo. It assesses everything, and everything must be justified. If you look at the government code mandates, what is a city mandated to do? Maslow's hierarchy of needs tells us that security and safety are the basic needs, and frankly, that's what a government's basic function is. These are the essential functions, and if you identify those functions that are directly impacting the citizens' safety and quality of living, like public safety, police, fire, EMS, building codes, inspections, animal control, road, sewer, water quality, etc., fund those first. Look for efficiencies and consolidation opportunities. I'm talking quickly because I don't have a lot of time. Freeze your current positions. That came up at last week's meeting. I think it's a great idea. No new hires. Reallocate and look at possibilities for consolidation. We did this back in 1980 in Imperial County after Proposition 13 was passed and capped the property tax revenue at 1%, plus reset it back to 3-year previous value. So we had about a third of our budget was hit. It was significant. We lost over 300 employees out of 1,000. So it was a huge deal. What we did was we looked at opportunities for job sharing. We found that people that we thought would never let go of their job would be very, very happy. They were pregnant, they had young children, they had grandchildren at home. They would be very happy to work a 4-hour day and share that job with another employee to do the same thing. We looked at consolidating functions across departments. If you have an administrative assistant function, they do the same function in every department. You know, you can share that. I have other ideas, but I'm out of time. So thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to come forward and speak on a non-agenda item? If not, I would open up to council for any comments that they have.
I just wanted to, Robert Myers touched on this. There is the trout fishing this weekend at the park, Ottumwa Park. And also April 1st, there's going to be some tree planting. Jean did get a grant that's going to give us 20 trees for the Cedar Creek Golf Course and 20 trees for the Ottumwa Park. So those are
Ottumwa Park.
So thank you. And that's all I had.
Anyone else? I guess the only thing I was going to say is let's all go fishing on Saturday. Sounds like the weather's going to be beautiful. Yeah, and they cook the trout right there on the spot, so you can't get any better. So with that, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Sherry, take the roll, please.
Councilmember Dupre,
Yes.
Councilmember Cavanis,
Yes.
Councilmember Reed,
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway,
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman.
Yes.
We're adjourned.